Good afternoon. See, today I'm working on some game server configuration stuff, which is not going in this next update, but we need for future things. So let me see here. So I need to put together a game mode configuration which has a bunch of different kind of game option lists that get combined together. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to need some options and some objects. So let me think. So we're going to want some new data structures here. We will want I guess it's kind of game mode options. Game mode configuration? Yeah, okay. And what we're going to want is different types of thing in it. And then we'll want different instances of this. Alright, so we'll want like game mode options, which will have a name, and then we're going to have a bunch of game mode variables. And what are these variables? We're going to have like everything in here, I think. So we'll have a name for the game mode options, and then we'll have a game mode option list. So what sort of game mode options are we going to have for everything? I mean, we really should have just all sorts of stuff, right? I mean, let's just start off with a few. What sort of things? So we want like allow player violence. Let's look at all of our level specific things that we've got for overrides at the moment. I mean, the other thing is we can make this be like a string based system where we override things might actually be a better plan to do, to actually have a list of these things and then like an enum and then a value or some crap. Yeah, so if we had like game mode option, and then we had a type and value, and this was always a string. The type would need to be an enum. So this would be like game option. So what would our game options be? Game options would be stuff like just everything that we'd want to add. So this would allow us to have like an array, and that would allow us to override stuff with well-defined information. So game mode configuration is going to have a whole bunch of options, and then it's going to have a list of game mode options, yeah. So these will be option sets. Yeah, okay, this is starting to make sense. Because if we're using these like enum value things in a list, then we'll be able to have unset values. And when we iterate over things, we can get them into the right spots. Alright, so let's set it. What sort of options we got? We've got, let's load up our arena test. So basically need to come up with a standardized thing for all this. Alright, so we've got all linear damping, all angular damping, all gravity multiplier, got our ball hit speed multiplier, we've got our ball scale, I guess we should also have ball number. Let's see, we're going to have players can hit other team. Let's see, let's have a stun, so player stun duration, player stun force. I mean, are we going to have score to win, or like, let's see, we'll have stuff like has sudden death. What other game options would we have? Is there anything on the forum that maybe I should look at? What power-ups, different character options, yeah, okay, so why don't we have some other options? Let's do like can kick, can punch, can pop up, can jump. So kick, punch, pop up, jump, can dash. Must crawl. Oh man, these would be this would be awful. Let's see. Can wall jump. Alright, so we have all these, so we'll have a different game option. So what we're going to want to do here is we also want the game mode configuration to actually have the list of variables on it that we want to set and their actual types. So we're going to want things like every single one of these needs to be represented in this main class. Alright, why don't we have some more things? Let's Run speed modifier. Yeah, just like run speed can be another one. Maybe we can have fast characters. If you want. Let's have an attack speed as well. Could do that. So we got things that change the ball, things that change the characters and players, everything like that. So we can enforce some of the different game types that we'd want to see. Alright, so ball linear damping is going to be a float. Default is going to be 1. Ball angular damping. Well, let's see. The ball angular damping. Yeah, these are just 1s because they're going to be applied globally to the thing. Gravity multiplier, 1. It's a float. Hit speed multiplier, float. It's going to be a 1. Ball scale, float, 1. Ball number, integer, 1. Players can hit other team, boolean, true. Player stun duration, float, 1. Player stun force, float, 1. Has sudden death, boolean, true. Can kick, boolean, true. I guess we don't really need the option set list here. Maybe we can have a different thing here for like game mode configuration options, like a game mode configuration bars. That way we can keep some of this separate, so if we're like fetching a bunch of information, we don't need to fetch all the option set stuff in there. We can just fetch the basic stuff. Yeah, so if we do it like that, game mode configuration, and why don't we just have like a name for this game mode configuration? This is a whole bunch of data structure munging, but it's necessary for us to be able to make sense of everything. Like if we're going to have a UI that allows you to make a game mode, we're going to need like a list of game options that you can affect, and then we need the way to persist that and validate it and be like, oh yeah, that's a float, that's a boolean. Because we're going to have too many game options that we're not going to want to make custom UI for every goddamn option we got. We just want like a list of things you can toggle on and off, like in Halo or some other modern multiplayer game. So you must scroll, boolean, false, run speed, float, 1, attack speed, float 1. Alright, so that's our game mode configuration vars. Let's make sure this is valid JSON. And of course it's not. It's right after attack speed. Alright, so that's good. And we're going to need an event here. So this is going to be game mode configuration changed. And I guess we'll have like a full game mode configuration. Well, let's just make it simple to start with. So game mode configuration bars changed. And this will be bars. And this next one will be like game mode configuration changed. And this will be config. So now we can get notified of when things actually change. So let's try to generate all this. No errors in the JavaScript. I have a feeling not many people played yesterday. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. Alright. So let's build this thing. So we've got all of our different stuff here. So what we need is a game mode data structure that concatenates a whole bunch of stuff together and makes a game mode. So we're going to want like some utils here. Let's make like, game utils is getting real bloated, so maybe there's some sort of like game option utils or gameplay utils might be something better. Do we call two things name? name. This will be options. Yeah, that's the kind of data structure I want to see. Where we've just got all of our stuff set up. So to add a new option, we'll just be able to add it to the list, generate the code, it'll be there, we'll be able to put it in the UI, and we'll be able to read it and write it from blueprints and the game. So I think it's, yeah, gameplay utils might be a good name for a class here. So why don't we go ahead and start making gameplay utils. And it'll deal with this sort of stuff. So what's this getting angry about? It's getting angry that we can't have one F. Alright, fine. Let's see how it is. Put our .O's. What? This is only working because we have, yeah, okay, so it's not about the .O's, it's about the generation of the CVP file from the template, and we've only just been lucky that our numbers have always been like a point something. I mean, do we actually need the F on the end? I mean, this should be like that, where we have a C on there so it doesn't accidentally put something in there we don't want. Well, do we actually need the F? Or are we going to start getting warnings about stuff? Yeah, we'll see if like this sort of thing right here gives us a big pain in the ass. Alright, well, looks like it might actually compile then. Yeah, nothing complicated today. One of the things we're trying to avoid is we're trying to avoid doing anything risky because the update's tomorrow. So literally, like, even working on stuff that is for next update's kind of a bad move in some ways. Alright, so this thing's not going to bitch at us for these built-in things like that, which is fine. That's I'd rather it have us warn about that stuff, but that's okay. Okay, so one of the things that we want to do is we want to take like a game mode configuration and create the this thing from the option sets. So we're going to take a game mode configuration and fill out its variables. So we should do a static void, actually a static f game mode configuration. Well, let's just take a reference. Fill game mode from option sets. So let's take a game mode configuration, a config, and maybe we should take a const t-array of game mode option set. And we're also going to want a name, so maybe a const f-string ref name. Alright, so other things we might want is not having a name. Another one we might want is just having the config itself. Yeah, alright. Fill game mode from option sets. Easy. And then we'll have with name. Alright, so we've got, yeah, okay, so we need to make sure that we actually call these things correctly. These are Fs, because these are structs. So let's fill them out. Call to fill our game mode from our game modes option sets. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do like config.name equals name, and then config.optionSets equals sets, and then we're going to do just our fill easy on our config, and not worry about it. So same thing here, we're just going to say config.optionSets equals sets, and then fill game mode option sets easy. Alright, so I need to regenerate this thing because I renamed the variable. Alright, so it's going to be the config vars dot reset, and then we're going to call apply option sets to config. So it's kind of the same thing. I'm just kind of mulling everything over here. So our option sets are a name and then a list of options. Alright, so we're going to go for every const option set in sets. We're going to call apply options set to config, and then set. And this is not very object oriented, but I really don't care. We're trying to get this to work nicely with our blueprints and with other things, and you can't really do that with U structs. We have to make them all U classes, and if we make them all U classes, we have to go new crap everywhere, and I'm just going to keep it simple with structs. my options set to config. So we want to, basically, we have these game mode options set, and we're going to switch off of the opt.type. So we've got EBS game options for everything. Alright, so I'm going to want some other options, some other utilities here. So do we have like string utils? Yeah, okay. So binary array to string. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do like static float, get float from string, const f string address input, and then we're going to have a default. How do we set a default nicely? I mean, we'd use a pointer for it. So why don't we just always enforce that we have it? So we'll have get int from string. We'll have bool and get string from string with a default. That makes sense. In case the string is empty. This will help us just kind of do these things inline a little bit nicer. Alright, so what is fstring's length function? I always forget this. Yeah, it's just len. Alright, so we'll just have some basics from all that. So how do we get int32 to fstrings, C++ Unreal? What are the string conversion functions? Alright, so basically we're looking at fc string a to I, and that's all we get. That's kind of crap. That's not very fun. Alright, so if input dot len 0 return default, otherwise return input. Okay, so what we want is we've got our game mode configuration. I think we should have our configuration variables. So game mode configuration vars. Yeah, so we'll do it like that. Hello, Adam. I am working on stuff for next update. I'm not going to be working on anything else for this one. There's just too much stuff that we already have done. I don't want to break anything. Kind of like it's just one of those things. Accidentally put something in there like a spell false wrong, and all of a sudden the UI breaks. So I'm staying out of it. so that's looking okay. Yeah, is there anything you wanted to talk about otherwise? Like, I'm just doing work, so I don't care if we gotta jump off stream and do other things, or if there's any other news. Alright, so angular damping, gravity multiplier, hit speed multiplier. The other thing would be, you're just waiting on the build. The other thing would be if you have any game mode options that you think we might want, I'll send you the list that I got right now. If you have any others, let me know, just so I can at least put them in there. The build says it's supposed to be done in like 16 minutes, but I'll take another bit to actually deploy, so I'd say the build reliably should be in the next 30 minutes. Gotta put those F's on there. Alright, then it's a Boolean. So get bool from string. Let's see, ball scale. No one can hit on the team. Yeah, I figured that's the kind of the game flow, right? We've got the pre-game, in-game, sudden death starting, sudden death, game over, post-game stats, pre-game lobby. So if we want sudden death, which I figure we'll want something like that. So if you build the concept in when you're making the system, it's a hell of a lot easier to take it out if you don't want it, versus never building the concept at all into it. So it's better just to have something there, even if we plan on maybe not using it. So player stun duration. Alright, stun force. Has sudden death. Can kick. Punch. Can pop up. Can jump. I guess I should add another one for can't slide. Alright, then we want can dash. Must crawl. And then we've got run speed and attack speed. These are more just toggles and stuff I can add in without more complex logic. So if you're saying you want to add in a game option there for can be hit while crouched or something like that, if that's what you're asking, or you'll have to be more specific. Yeah, these are kind of supposed to be simple options to start with here. I figure a lot more of the more complicated game options, like what you're talking about with, or are you talking about like can be hit while stunned or something like that? That would actually be a decent one. I should put a stun immunity time player stun immunity. Because I do have a concept for that. Where I can modify the length of time that you're actually immune. Because you are right now immune to being stunned too much. But it's a really short duration. So it pretty much doesn't do jack shit. Yeah, the big one will be the ability update. This is supposed to be just the simple stuff. So like, how fast the ball is and how fast the players are. I'm thinking I'll put in the ability to have more than one ball at a time, just because that can totally change the game. And it'll just go stupid with all the indicators. That would be another one that we might want. Has team indicators. Has other team indicators. And then has ball indicator. So, because that would be interesting. Like, what if there weren't indicators? Do stealth mode, like, especially if we have more complex abilities in different game modes that have that sort of stuff going on, that might actually be viable. Like you were talking about, show nameplates. That seems more like like a display option that a player would toggle as opposed to something a game would toggle. I don't think that's a game mode option. The only thing there would be like if you had a horror game where somebody switched, or if you're in TF2 and you're like, he's a spy. Fuck, we only got 2 engineers on our team. Why are there 3 engineers? Versus